Hey, stop what you're doing for a second. A little boy walked into his school on a Tuesday morning. He was 7 years old. He had his science fair project tucked under his arm, and he was so proud of it. And he never, not once, walked back out. That was June 4th, 2010. And in 16 years, there have been 0 arrests, 0 charges, 0 answers. But here's the thing. In January 2026, the US government released a document. And buried inside it was something that stopped the entire true crime community cold. Kyron Horman's name. Stick with me, because this story, it is not what you think it is. And the one person who has been at the center of this investigation from day one has never been charged with a single crime. Y'all, before we get into what happened, I need you to know who this little boy was. Because this isn't just some case file. This was a real kid. And he deserves to be remembered as that first. His name was Kyron Richard Horman, born September 9th, 2002 in Portland, Oregon. Red hair, blue eyes, freckles, the cutest gap-toothed smile you've ever seen. His parents, Desiree Young and Caney Horman, split up when he was really young. For a while, Kyron was living with his mom, Desiree. But in 2004, Desiree got hit with a kidney failure diagnosis. And she had to make the kind of decision that would break any parent's heart. She let Caney take full custody of Kyron. Not because she didn't love him, because she loved him so much she couldn't stand the thought of her illness getting in the way of his life. Caney remarried in 2007. His new wife, Terry Moulton, became Kyron's stepmom. She was a substitute teacher. And on the surface, Kyron's life looked totally normal. Stable home, school he loved, a dad who was present. And honestly, ask anyone who knew him what they remember most about Kyron, and they'll tell you the same thing every single time. Frogs. The kid was absolutely obsessed with red-eyed tree frogs. Like that was his whole thing. His mom, Desiree, she still has a whole corner of her backyard filled with frog decorations in his memory. She calls it Kyron's pad. That's who he was. A 7-year-old kid with a gap-toothed smile and a dream of studying frogs. That's who we lost. June 4th, 2010, Tuesday morning in Portland, Oregon. Kyron is in 2nd grade at Skyline Elementary. This small, quiet school sitting right at the edge of Forest Park in northwest Portland. And that morning, he is pumped. Like genuinely excited, because today is Science Fair Day, and his red-eyed tree frog project is finally ready. His stepmom, Terry, drives him to school. She walks him into the gym, watches him set up his project, takes that photo at 7:45 a.m., the one we talked about. And then, according to Terry, she watched him walk back toward his classroom, went to her truck, and left the school around 8:45 a.m. But Kyron never made it to his classroom. At 10 a.m., his teacher marked him absent and just moved on. No one called home, no one checked. The school day kept going like everything was totally fine. And then 3:30 hits, the school bus pulls up. The doors open. Kyron is not on it. Terry and Caney rush to the school. Someone calls 911. The FBI shows up within hours. And 10 days later, investigators do something that makes everyone's stomach drop. They reclassify this from a missing persons case to a criminal investigation. What came next was the largest missing person search operation in the entire history of Oregon. I'm not exaggerating. They literally broke a state record trying to find this kid. Entire history of Oregon. We're talking over 1,300 trained searchers. from Oregon, Washington, and California. On a single day, June 12th, just 8 days after Kyron vanished, more than 300 rescuers were on the ground at the same time, combing through the dense woods around Skyline Elementary. They zeroed in on Sauvie Island, about 6 miles from the school, and specifically searched the Sauvie Island Bridge. They never told the public why. They just said they were following credible investigative leads. They posted a reward, started at $25,000, got raised to $50,000, and y'all said that $50,000 reward is still sitting there, unclaimed, right now, in 2026, 16 years later. Okay, so from literally day one of this investigation, law enforcement's attention kept coming back to one person, Terry Horman, Kyron's stepmom, the last known person to see him alive. The last known person to see him alive. Now I want to walk you through what investigators found. 3 things, in order. Number 1, 4 witnesses, including Kyron's own biological grandma, told investigators they saw Terry with Kyron outside the school, walking toward her truck, after the time she said she'd already left. Number 2, in the days right after Kyron disappeared, Terry took 2 polygraph tests. She failed both of them. She was then asked to take a third. She said no. And here's the part that really gets me. Every single other person connected to this case who agreed to take a polygraph passed. And number 3, y'all, I need you to brace yourself for this one. In January 2010, 5 months before Kyron went missing, Terry Horman allegedly went to the family's landscaper and offered him money to kill her husband, Kani Horman, Kyron's dad. Investigators had the landscaper wear a wire and confront her, but they couldn't get enough evidence to make an arrest. I want you to think about that for a second. Someone allegedly tries to hire a hitman to kill their spouse in January. In June of the exact same year, a child in that house disappears. And 16 years later, not one single charge has ever been filed. Drop your theory in the comments right now. Seriously, what does that tell you? For 16 years, Desiree Young has not stopped looking for her son. Every single anniversary vigil, every interview, every awareness campaign she could find, she has never once sat down and accepted that he's gone. She said in an interview, and I want you to really sit with this, you know, it doesn't get easier. I think people think that it does, but it really doesn't. I can be walking through a grocery store, I see a little boy that looks like Kyron, and it just brings me to tears. Kani, Kyron's dad, said, I think like everybody else, we all thought this would be solved quickly. To be this far along and still have it unsolved, it is difficult for everybody. This isn't a Netflix doc, this isn't a podcast episode, this is a real family's actual life, every single day, for 16 years. Okay, so fast forward to May 2025, the eve of the 15-year anniversary of Kyron's disappearance, and the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office dropped some news that genuinely surprised people who've been following this case for years. They were digitizing the entire Kyron Horman case file for the very first time ever. Every single page, every photo, every piece of physical evidence, all being scanned, organized, and prepped for review with modern tools, and then handing it to the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, the BAU, the same elite team that gets called in on the coldest, most complex, hardest to crack cases in the entire country. the newly elected DA went on record saying, "My office has begun a thorough and methodical review of this case with fresh eyes. Our focus remains where it has always belonged, on Kyron and his family." New tech? Fresh eyes? 15 years of evidence finally being looked at the right way. And then, just a few months later, something happened that nobody in this case saw coming. So, January 30th, 2026. The U.S. Department of Justice releases over 3 million pages of documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein. 3 million pages. Most of it got chewed up in the news cycle almost immediately. But some researchers and journalists started digging, and deep in those files they found something no one expected. An anonymous tip, submitted to the FBI back in July 2019, from an unknown person using a Canadian IP address, describing an alleged trafficking operation in Thornhill, Ontario, and naming 3 missing children. 3 names. Pause here. The 3 names appear on screen as text cards only. Do not read them out loud. Resume after the text cards disappear. Within days, Kyron's name was trending on every platform across America. 16 years of near silence, broken overnight. But here's what I really need you to know before you go forming any opinions on this. This was one anonymous tip from an unknown person, and several of the kids' names in that document were actually misspelled. No law enforcement agency anywhere has confirmed any connection between Epstein and this case. Not one. Kyron's own mom, Desiree, addressed this directly. She said clearly, there are no known connections between Epstein and her son. But here's what it did do. In 2026, 16 years after a 7-year-old boy with a gap-toothed smile walked into his school, the whole country stopped and remembered his name again. He was born September 9th, 2002. If Kyron is alive today, he's 23 years old. He loved red-eyed tree frogs. He was so proud of that science fair project. He had red hair and blue eyes, and a smile that you honestly just don't forget. His mom has never stopped looking. His dad has never stopped hoping. And right now, as you're watching this, the FBI is going through this case with tools that didn't even exist when Kyron disappeared. Someone knows what happened that morning. Someone has always known. Okay, before you close out, I need 3 things from you. 1, drop a comment. Tell me who you think is responsible for what happened to Kyron. I genuinely read every single one, and I want to know what you think happened that morning. 2, if you know someone who is into true crime, please share this video. Kyron's family has been waiting 16 years for the right person to see the right thing. And 3, hit subscribe, because this is nowhere near the last story that deserves to be told.